everybody, and in my short talk today, I'd like to illustrate some examples of Italian humor from online social media posts, and how this humor is used to create a space for cultural negotiation. Online humor is participatory. It's pretty easy to create a reel or a TikTok and add your own 2 cents to what I call the global commentary around a trending topic. We know that online humor is polarized, but it also creates community. Humorous videos and memes are posted to highlight who is a part of the in-group and who is not, which encourages other people to comment with their experiences, further creating community. Today I'll be specifically looking at the intersection of AI and culture, of AI and dialect, of AI and humor, and AI that speaks Italian, AI that speaks Tuscan, AI that speaks Neapolitan, or even the dialect from the northern region of Piedmont. And this raises a question I want you to keep in mind throughout this talk. Why would AI have an accent? Why would AI speak in dialect? We generally expect language and culture to match. We expect a voice to come from somewhere. So when AI speaks with a regional accent, or in a dialect, it creates a small cultural shock. And in that shock, people reveal a lot about what they actually expect from AI and from each other. That tension is what makes this humor so revealing. So let's look at some examples. My first 2 examples are in English, which already tells us something. It tells us they're performing Italian. They're performing Italianness for an outside audience. The first video is called "You Accidentally Downloaded Italian ChatGPT," and the premise is that someone asks the AI to write a 5-page discussion about why the Mona Lisa belongs to France. And of course the AI absolutely refuses. It launches into a passionate Italian defensive discussion on the fact that the Mona Lisa is actually Italian. And when the person pushes back and then says, well, give me some Indian food recommendations nearby, again, the AI refuses that. First saying that anybody who prefers Indian food over Italian food belongs in a psychiatric ward, and then threatens to call the police. If you've heard Delia Chiaro's talk, you've heard the term that she has for this: food fundamentalism. This kind of performance about food as sacred. It's the intensely held belief that food is a matter of cultural identity and moral seriousness. It's not just about preference. Italian ChatGPT isn't just being fussy about recipes and how they're made. It's performing a national character where food and cultural heritage and cultural patrimony are sacred, and any suggestion otherwise is a personal offense. The Mona Lisa, Leonardo da Vinci, the cuisine, these become triggers for a kind of performed cultural fury, and the audience loves it. The comments under this video are things like, I love Italians, it's me, Mario. It's a warm, affectionate kind of stereotyping, normally. And crucially, it's being performed in English for an international audience, with very heavily Italian accents in English and large gestures. The humor works because it relies on a shared external knowledge of what being Italian means from the outside. The second humorous skit in the English language about Italianness follows the same logic, but it doubles down on it. This time the premise is, you forgot that you're talking to an Italian ChatGPT, and so you ask it for a recipe for chicken parmigiana. And of course, the AI refuses to cooperate. Now, chicken parmigiana is famously an Italian-American dish, not an Italian dish. We all know this at this point. It doesn't exist in Italy. And Italian ChatGPT it turns out, has very strong opinions about this. It won't give the person the recipe that is considered a corruption of Italian culinary heritage. Again, an example of food fundamentalism. The AI is the gatekeeper. The joke is that the AI, configured as an Italian ChatGPT, is the gatekeeper of authenticity, deciding what counts as real Italian food, what counts as real Italian culture, real Italian identity. Both of these two skits are in the English language, and it works because the humor is about a recognizable, internationally recognizable Italian national character. Passionate, obsessed with food, proud of their history, ready to take any cultural slights very seriously. But, and here's the transition, this is Italian as seen from the outside, from outside Italy. It's the national stereotype. But what happens when you look at how Italians frame their humor about AI for each other, for people inside Italy? Now let's move to the Italian language content. And I want to start with an example that bridges the food fundamentalism we saw in the English videos and the hyper-local regional identity we're about to see. There's a video skit of Johnny GPT, an imagined AI from the region of Abruzzo in central Italy. The person asks Johnny GPT how to cook arrosticini in the oven. Arrosticini are thin skewers of lamb meat, a very traditional dish from Abruzzo. And so Johnny GPT refuses, because you cannot cook the arrosticini in the oven. It refuses not because it can't help, but because it won't help. The AI insists the meat must be grilled over a charcoal grill, a traditional canalina grill, a kind of long, narrow grill designed exactly for this specific kind of skewers. And the comments pile up to back the AI up. They say the word itself, arrosticini, means grilled over the fire. So it's in the name itself that you can't cook it in the oven. Somebody from a region not too far away, Emilia-Romagna, enters into the comments and says, well, actually they're great if you cook them in the air fryer. They're soft, they're tasty, they're better than the grill. The response is immediate. Someone says, it takes courage to write that publicly. Then someone else adds, there's a special circle of hell reserved for you too. Of course, summoning up Dante's circles of hell. Other commenters arrive to specify exactly how these arrosticini must be cooked. The breed of sheep that you need, the specific canalina grill you need, the smoke, the weather conditions that you have to endure to cook them outside properly. One commenter, who identified herself as a vegan from Abruzzo, writes that she has suffered for 25 years, but she acknowledges that it's a sacred tradition. And this is the key. People are not just discussing a recipe, ingredients. They are identifying themselves by region. The person from Emilia-Romagna is marked as an outsider immediately the moment they suggest using an air fryer. The people from Abruzzo circle around. Emilia is invited to stick to its own food and to leave the arrosticini alone. Johnny GPT is not just refusing to help. It's acting as a guardian of regional authenticity. The comment section becomes a space where Italians identify themselves by where they're from, which region they're from, what food they eat, and they defend their culinary traditions. as an integral part of who they are. So far we've seen regional identity policed through food, but this same dynamic extends to the language itself, to the dialect, to the accent, to the very sound of AI's voice. Italy as a country was only unified in the late 1800s. The dialects are not just accents. They are distinct linguistic systems. And the regional identity is intensely local. It's not, I'm Italian, but I'm Tuscan, or I'm from Romagna, or I'm from Naples. So when Italians imagine AI speaking their language, they don't imagine a generic Italian AI. They imagine an AI from somewhere. And that specificity is where the humor gets very interesting. I collected an entire set of social media posts, about 200 different memes, videos, posts, talking about AI and how AI communicates, how AI listens. And very few of these highlight regional identity or national identity. And the majority of the ones that do are Italian. Some of them are in Italian, and there's the two that are in English, as I mentioned. There's content creators that do entire series of Alexa imagining how she would act if she had a Florentine. If she had a Florentine accent. There's a separate video of a GPS navigator speaking with a Naples dialect or in a Tuscan accent. And these videos are funny, but they're not really designed for an international audience. They assume that you already know things. They assume you know hyper-local things. The Florentine Alexa is full of references, specific shopping malls, specific local dynamics between towns and cities, specific attitudes that you would know if you were from Florence. One of the comments underneath the video said something along the lines of, I had suspected I was living in the most terrifying place on earth, full of little old ladies with shopping trolleys and bags of 5-cent coins. And the funny thing was, there were several comments like that. And someone else replies about the area Poggibonsi. Not even Poggibonsi is safe. If you don't know that that's a small Tuscan town with a very specific running joke attached to it, then you have no idea what they're talking about. But everybody in the comments understood what was going on. That's the point. The humor that was being passed around through the comment thread based on the main video post is a type of membership card. It tells you who's in the know and who's outside. The Tuscan video goes even further. The comments immediately turned into a debate on authenticity. Someone mentioned, no, that wasn't proper Tuscan, because the blasphemy was missing. And then multiple other commenters agreed. They said that the Tuscan GPS wasn't authentic enough because it didn't swear. Swearing, or bestemmie, is apparently, according to these people, a required marker of genuine Tuscan linguistic identity. And then one person adds in a comment that concludes triumphantly, we Tuscans are the best. So this is not just about humor and humor with AI. This is a public performance of regional pride. So using the comment section as a competitive stage. One person commented in this particular video that they had laughed out loud, but they didn't feel like sharing that video publicly because the humor was just too nuanced, too subtle, according to them. And someone else replied, yes, it's exactly like English humor. And now we have the Neapolitan Alexa moment. which is actually an interaction with Alexa, not an imagined, staged video. Someone asked their Alexa about the weather. It was hot outside. And Alexa responded with "Siete sang." This is a Neapolitan expression for extreme discomfort. It would roughly mean your blood is boiling out of you, and it's a way of wishing someone a really horrible death. But it's a little bit unusual coming from AI. It's not the neutral weather update that you're expecting. And so the user posted in a forum and said, "But why? Ma perché?" And people started laughing, adding in laughing emojis, and responding. Some of them really were very striking comments. Some people said they would throw away any AI device that spoke in a dialect like that, from Naples, or from a region different from their own. Some people didn't find it funny at all, and they commented on the fact that the makers of AI should understand that not everybody wants a Neapolitan Alexa. Many people said they wouldn't tolerate it. They would just throw it away. So in conclusion, when we give AI a regional accent in a humorous skit online, we might be intending to target the AI itself and the incongruity of a machine speaking like a local. But we are also creating a space to build community, to perform belonging, and to negotiate identity. The comment sections are the real show. People identify themselves by their region. They defend their traditions. They decide who's in and who's out. And humor is the only register where you can tell a stranger on the internet that there's a special circle of hell reserved for them, simply for suggesting an air fryer. And everyone laughs, and everyone knows which side they're on. That's the work these posts are doing. When Alexa speaks Neapolitan to the wrong person, or Johnny GPT refuses to give instructions on how to use the oven, the humor captures something that's true. It captures the identity that's local, the language that's not neutral, and that Italianness. Ma perché? Because that's how it is. Grazie, and thank you very much.